In this tutorial, we'll be looking at settings related to the invoicing module of iForgeAhead. This is an area you'll want to look into before you begin invoicing, and of course you can come back to it at any time and make changes as necessary. Click on the Settings menu bar at the top, and on this navigation page, click on Settings for Money Matters. These first three items deal with settings for invoices. The first item relates to service date. When you're working within an invoice and you're building the line items which include the charges to be included on the invoice, each line item has a service date. And that service date should always be set to the date you actually performed the service. The reason for that is that the service date is used in the horse records for calculating their scheduling information to record when you actually performed the service. As you're building the line items of the invoice, iForgeAhead will automatically put in a default service date in that field, so you won't have to do anything there unless you need to change the date. This setting allows you to tell iForgeAhead how to figure the default service date. It can either be set to the invoice date, which means it will be equal to the date that's at the top of the invoice screen, or it can be set to the current date or the date that you're actually entering the information. So you can select either of those options here, and that change will automatically be saved to the database and will be used when you build your invoices. The next item is your default invoice note. Each invoice has a note area where you can communicate information to your clients. The default note text should be set up here, and this will be standard information that you want to include on all of your invoices. When you're actually creating an invoice, you can modify that note or add to it for a specific customer at that particular time. But in this screen, you'll want to set it for how you want it to appear on most of your invoices. You can take out what we already have in here and create your own or add to it. Just set the text in this field exactly how you want it to appear. And you'll notice I'm just putting in a brief statement here, but this will hold quite a bit of information. So if you wanted to include your payment terms, for example, or best ways to contact you, you can do that here. And once you have the text how you'd like it, just click the Save button below, and it will indicate that that's been saved. And then this text will be inserted on every new invoice that's created from this point forward. The final item is last invoice number, and you may not use this at all, but basically it allows you to tell iForgeAhead how to start numbering your invoices. So if you've been using another system such as a pre-numbered printed invoice pad and you want iForgeAhead to continue that numbering system, you can come into this screen and change this value to be equal to the last number that you used out of that system. And iForgeAhead will refer to this number and add 1 each time it creates a new invoice. So if you need to do that, you'll just change this value here and click the Save button. And your next invoice after this would be numbered 1501. And that concludes the settings on this page. I'll just wrap up by returning to the settings page and pointing out that there's another item under here called sales tax rates. If you need to collect sales tax for your business, you'll want to see our additional tutorial that covers the sales tax rates section of iForgeAhead. Thank you very much.